back, Senate Education Committee. What's the date? That's 16th, January 16th. And today, this afternoon, we have Dr. Elizabeth Locke with us, the Chancellor of Vermont State College System. We have, as you know, we have here at least once a year, and this is the 2026 visit, and just for some level of update, and we're talking about strategic plan. I think so. You were here. Well, we'll go around the room anyway. So I think you probably know everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, we'll wait and then we'll skip it because people watching have seen us do it now. Today, so we don't do it again. Okay. Well, with that, just your name for the record and off we go.
Sure. So I'm Beth Mao, Chancellor of the Vermont State College System, and I want to thank you all for having me here today. It is always a pleasure to be here and talk to the Senate Ed Committee. Pleasure to be here. Just that I just want everybody that the State House has come alive, and it's nice to be back in the building. I always like to ground us as I'm starting in our mission for the Vermont State College System, and that is for the benefit of Vermont. So we were established by the legislature for the benefit of Vermont. And what that means for us is that we know that we have to ensure that every Vermonter has access to high quality higher education, regardless of their income or their location, and that we have to be that trusted partner for them throughout their lifetime as their need for higher education ebbs and flows. And, you know, I'm here today really with great news. The system is thriving. We are about 83% Vermonters. So as a reminder, the Vermont State College System is comprised of Vermont State University and the Community College of Vermont. So when you put all of our students together, about 83% of them are Vermonters. Overall, our enrollment was up about 1.4% this year. But in that, 10% of our online, we were up 10% in our online enrollment, which is a real marker for us and something that we're very proud to ensure that helps us to serve more Vermonters. And then several real key programs for us were up very high in enrollment. So things like elementary education, mechanical engineering, a lot of our health sciences programs were also up in enrollment. And, you know, we really do believe that we are one of the key workforce drivers in the state. And so when we have programs like that are really taking off, it's a point of pride for us. The other thing that I just like to mention is that I'm just so proud to be here in Vermont and just so proud to work with this legislature and committees like yours. You know, higher ed has been under attack. Folks usually ask me, hey, what's going on? And I always tell them I'm just so happy to be here in Vermont, where our legislature really understands higher education, that you have worked with us hand in hand to make sure that we are educating the students of Vermont. And I was really proud earlier in the fall, Senator Lyons came to me to talk about a bill she's looking at to promote and have the legislature support academic freedom. And that's really exciting to me that we really have trust in our faculty to guide our students through what sometimes can be difficult conversations. And it's just one of the things that really makes me happy to be here in Vermont. Oh, sure. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
I'm curious regarding the enrollment, if you know what that's attributed to. But you know, the increase is great, but any ideas why?
Why?
Yeah, why are we seeing more?
Oh.
Like what's encouraging people to enroll in the system?
Well, one of the things I was going to talk about later has certainly been a program by the legislature called both the 802 Opportunity, which is for free community college at the Community College of Vermont for any household in Vermont that's making $100,000 or less, and the Freedom and Unity program, which we've started in collaboration with VSAC, which is for Vermont State University, that allows any family whose income is $65,000 or less to come to Vermont State University. The reason these programs are so important is one of the things we know is that that sort of those last couple of dollars are sometimes the thing that really holds students from being able to attend college. And when we have programs like that allow families to participate in college and their students and the learners, that allows them to not only come to college, but be retained at college. And so certainly as those programs have come more online and as we have gotten out the messaging for those, that is one of the biggest drivers for why we're noticing some of these enrollments. The online piece, that's interesting because oftentimes online students aren't necessarily coming full time. And so it allows them to say, I can try this, I have my expenses covered, and then I can see how it is I'm gonna, actually do college. So I would say that's probably one of the attributes. We have worked really hard on the programs that we have so that they are meeting the needs of Vermonters. So looking at, okay, what are the programs that we are offering that make sense for workforce? What are the programs that we're offering that make sense for, when you're in a position to be able to get them to go on to another position. So we've really looked and tried to see how are we meeting the needs of Vermonters. And so those are just two examples of it.
Awesome. Thank you.
So one of the things that I did want to talk a little bit about, though, is the changing demographics. So we know in Vermont that we are an older state, keep getting older. And what that means for us is that there are fewer 18-year-olds, which is a very well-known piece. And that's not just here in Vermont, that is all over the Northeast. And so as we look at this, and when I'm talking to folks, what that has also meant for us is that our demographics at the Vermont State Colleges system are also different. So what I usually like to talk to folks about is the fact that our students are older than you might think. So while we do still have a very robust traditional age population, we also have students who, in our part-time areas, of example, are nearly 30. They are looking for more flexibility. They are looking to have college wrap around their lives as opposed to their lives wrapped around college. And so that has been something that we know we have had to be making changes as we've done that. One of the pieces has been those online opportunities and online totally asynchronous. So if you are out in the community and you have a position, it's not always the case that you can take a class at a prescribed time. And we know that that has been one of the things that we've really been working on to make sure that we're meeting the needs of those Vermonters. And we know that this will continue to be something that we have to work on as more folks are getting into education who need to upskill and get more training, or folks who are, as I said, in a workplace situation where they would like to maybe even go to some other institution. As we look at working with folks here in Department of Labor and the Agency of Education at, okay, what kinds of positions do we need to start looking at and what kinds of majors do we have to have so that we're ensuring we're meeting those needs. And then looking at things like micro-credentials or other apprenticeship models that do allow folks to stay in the position that they have and upskill as they're doing that. Now, as we are talking about this, and as I mentioned that the demographics are changing, the other thing that we have been working on is really revitalizing and ensuring that our campuses, especially at Vermont State University, remain vibrant. So as we know, the demographics are changing and that we don't always have students who are looking to come to our campuses, stay on our campuses, we have to make sure that we are really meeting the needs of the communities in which we live and being really good stewards of our resources. So I have some examples for you today of some of the things that we're starting to see. I'll start with the Johnson campus. So we were really excited that Down Street received one of the disaster relief grants. And what we're going to be doing is bringing senior housing to the McClellan building on the Johnson campus. Now, the results of those grants were really important for us because we were starting to talk to folks and say, we want to make sure that we are being a community steward for you. And so in addition to that, we also will have very soon, probably by the end of the spring semester, have the Johnson Health Clinic come up our talks with them. That will be so important because it will allow our students to have more access to healthcare. It will allow students to have opportunities to have some internships that they can potentially do. And it really will help us to look at the vibrancy of the campus. In addition to that, there have been a number of other folks who have come forward and have said, we would really like to look at some of your campus facilities to see if we can come on and really start to look at the community that is Johnson. At the same time, on our Linden campus, we've been in conversations with Kingdom East School District, who has a need for some administrative offices. And so we've been looking at partnering with them to say, how can we bring them onto our campus so that they can conduct their business. The exciting thing for us about that, and while they're administrative offices, what that does for us is it really starts to get us to say, there's more students, K-12 students, who will start to know more about our Linden campus. And so that's a really exciting opportunity. And as I said, there are a number of other opportunities. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was what seems to me to be sort of the key component to all of this really is workforce housing. Because when we have a number of employers saying, we have this workforce, we're a little bit concerned about where we might be able to place these folks. For us, those conversations actually have been turning into from workforce housing, where they may be able to use some of our facilities for that, into opportunities to train folks in their communities, and in these opportunities to have the folks who are coming onto our campuses maybe have their families also participate. So we're very excited about some of the opportunities that are happening on our campuses. The other thing that we are looking to do is partner with businesses, which we've obviously done since we were founded. But a couple of really exciting programs that I'd like to talk about. One is the CPEP program. What that allows, so not everybody goes to college right away. And sometimes as you're starting to realize I might need some training, this program is really nice. It allows students to come in to maybe take some courses at the same time they're working with regional businesses to see what kind of position they may be really interested in. And it really takes folks from maybe not having the skills that they need to giving them the beginning skills that they need, all the while they're taking 4 credit courses so that if they need even more upskilling, they've got a basis of credits and they start to see that they can do college.
So is that like almost an adult CTE, that comes in and that they get to experience the workforce that they want to get into?
Yeah, a little bit. And even though more opportunities than even just maybe a CTE, but yes, that they're having these opportunities to both learn and work at a business at the same time.
And if don't mind me asking, in the Johnson and Linden, how many students now are in those campuses?
I do not have those numbers right off the top of my head. We'll have to get those to you. Sorry about that. And I'm a mathematician. So yes. I will get those for you. Any other? And we also have, as we have really been touting, the plumbing and electrical apprenticeships at what was Vermont Technical College, now Vermont State University. And in addition, we have looked at other sort of innovative models. So we know that we've welcomed a number of new Americans to Vermont, and sometimes they are some of our best employees. They may not have the English skills in order to get some of those positions immediately. And so what we are very excited about is an English course that we have for folks who are interested in STEM related subjects. So we're just constantly trying to look and see how is it that we're meeting the needs of the state and making sure that we're doing those and keeping up with those as quickly as we possibly can. A lot of times this is about not only getting the right programs, but getting the right programs in a timely fashion. So our budget request for this year, first of all, we will be asking for an additional 3% on our base budget, as we do, which will get us to $54,425,753. The important thing to note this year is we are not requesting bridge funding anymore. So this is our first year for FY27 where we're not going to be requesting bridge funding. Very excited about that. But thank the legislature for the support that you've given us over the years. We're secondly asking for $1.5 million for workforce micro-credentials, which I'm going to describe in just a little bit, so I'll hold on that. A third request that we made was for a combination of $4.2 million for allied health. So this has been something that we have received over the last many, many years. What that helps us to do is to pay for our faculty, for some clinical support and training for our students. Because we have been increasing the number of nurses and respiratory therapists and dental hygienists that we have over the years, we're asking for more funding to help us pay for those additional costs that we have. And then in addition, we're asking as part of the capital request to have $1 million So one of the things as we have started to really look at our facilities footprint has been, what are some different kinds of housing that we might be able to put on our campuses that make sense? So I talked about workforce housing, but one of the things sometimes families need are apartments. And our traditional dorms don't always meet those needs. And so what we're looking to do is to get plans and development and maybe do some site work in order to be able to go to a developer who could then perhaps work with us to put an apartment building, especially on the Johnson campus. So, but really the apartment building could go on any one of our campuses, but it just trying to show you the variety of ways that we're looking to try to transform these campuses so that they are meeting the needs of our students, but the community at the same time. So that is the budget request. As I mentioned, the workforce micro-credentialing that we're talking about. So, we've done this for many, many years, plumbing and electrical. The nursing program really is one of those. One of the examples that I'm really excited about this year that we've been working on is an elementary education program, where we're looking to have that be in the same type of thing as an apprenticeship, where we have folks who might to start working in our school districts who might be interested in actually becoming teachers. And here again, they don't have time to take these classes at the end of the day, and they're getting an awful lot of experience in the schools. And so we've partnered with the Agency on Education and the Department of Labor to look at how we're going to start a program for teachers that includes some apprenticeships. The funding for them,
Sorry to disrupt the train of thought again here. So I'm looking at the bullet point with retain and attracts talented Vermonters, and it sounds like you're attracting people to come and participate in all sorts of the programs. Do you have any measure of how many people are being retained? Like after they graduate, are they sticking around? Are they going elsewhere? And
we do in certain programs. We are actually working right now with the Department of Labor and some national groups to try to get more data even, but we do have a data for several programs. So nursing, and I'll give you that one because we just recently, I think this week sometime, got the NCLEX report from nursing. So that's the test that our nursing students have to take when they are finished with their program. At this point, every one of our nursing programs has an excess of a 90% pass rate. Many of our programs have 100% pass rate. So the different programs are an LPN program, an APN program, maybe a BSN program. There are different NCLEX tests for all of those. Of those students that have taken the test, more than 90% of those have taken their test in the state of Vermont. And so we know then that they are staying in Vermont. So that is the kind of data that we have on very prescribed programs. One of the things that we are looking to partner with the Department of Labor on is, okay, how do we get these same kinds of information for more of our programs? And so we actually are just in the beginnings of being able to capture that data and tying it to our students. And so we can tell for sure that more of them are even staying in the state of Vermont. With these apprenticeship programs, we do know for the plumbing and electrical apprenticeships, here again, we know that more than 90% of them stay in the state and will be in the state. So for the programs, we know they're very high percentage of staying.
great, thank you.
I had some dentists reach out to me about the dental hygienist and how Vermont does a pretty good job. I don't know, only like 23 students. It's a very low number that get to go through. One of the concerns they voiced was, I guess they got a grant, block grant or something, and maybe the money couldn't have been used for this, so I could speak on it. But he's like, rather than put in a, I guess you have to have professional dentists to come in and help during the course of this. And finding them has been a chore. There was a bunch of why they couldn't use some of that money rather than upgrading a facility or building a brand new facility. I thought he said, put more money in attracting dentists to come to help get our dentists, hygienist, better trained, or even add more, because I guess it's a highly sought after. Yeah. And we need to do a better job in high school to get said, here's a thing you can go 2 years and make really good money. What would I say to him on your behalf, if you even know if that far in the weeds?
I know in those weeds.
Okay.
Several things. So we did receive a congressionally directed spending grant from Senator Welch's office to try to expand that program. And so you're in the process right now that will include some amount of build out, because as you can imagine, there just are space needs for dental hygienist programs. So we're in the process of working on that so that we can extend the number of dental hygienists, because we know that this is one of the challenges, that we do only have 24 seats right now. So we'll be working on that. In addition, one of the other pieces we've been working on in the state has been sometimes students come in, they think, well, I might want to be a dental hygienist, but I might also want to be something else. And so CCV has actually a pre-health program where we can put students in a number of programs so that they can start to see if they like it. It also allows them to get some of the prerequisite courses that sometimes students need. And we are looking to develop something like that also for the dental hygienist program. So that students also first have a chance to see what they want to do. But we think that that will also help our students be more successful as they get into that dental hygiene program. So,
Follow up. And do you work CTEs to say, here could be another career field we should start trying to emphasize in CTEs? If you do have a student, is there a way, because they probably can't do it at any CTE school, is there a way that the student could get to the Vermont State course? Is there any facilitation for that, or is that just to get them to see if they like the career field?
yes, as I said, CCV specifically has sort of a pre-health track where students can both see what they're interested in for health programs, but also get some of those prereqs that we know that the students need.
Okay, yeah. So that's what the CTE should probably push those students. Is there communication between that and that?
We communicate with the CTEs, quite a lot. I know I've met with the directors of the CTEs just to give them a broad overview of all of the programs that we have. So we do try to keep those communication lines open. Thanks.
So that's a popular program, 23 seats or slots. What's keeping you from expanding it to 60?
We're in the process the funds from Senator Welch should allow us to ultimately double the program over the next several years. What we'll probably do is build it up slowly.
Yeah.
So a space is the space.
The space is the image. Which campus is this located?
Williston. And the other thing we'll need is also faculty to teach in that program. So that's another part of that for the plan that we will need dental hygienist faculty.
So do you have an instructor shortage, a dentist shortage? You may want to reach out to the Interstate Compact. We've been doing a lot of work with them. We're on health and welfare.
Thank you.
We might have some dentists who can collaborate.
Just also one of the things that I'd like to mention again, I know we talked about this at the beginning, is I do want to thank all of you for your support of both the 802 Opportunity and Freedom and Unity program. One of the things we're trying to do is make sure that every family who has a student or learner who wants to go to college can participate in those programs. So we are looking and supporting VSAC this year in an increase in their request and of their one-time funds from last year to try to increase that threshold for students at VTSU. One of the things I've had students tell me, hey, I've got 2 years at CCV and now I'd like to go to VTSU, but because I'm in that gap, I can't afford to go to college anymore. So we want to just make sure that every family has that opportunity. And so we're really excited to support VSAC in that request. And then in addition, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the flexible pathways for students in high school to get to college. So one of the things we know is that sometimes seeing what their opportunities are to go to college is important. And there are a number of programs in the state that we have that are supported by the legislature or that can be paid for that we're very excited about. So students have opportunities to do dual enrollment. So dual enrollment is a program where a student is still at their high school and can take some college courses. There's an early college program, which allows students to fully take courses for their senior year, which has been very exciting. We have the Fast Forward program, which is a direct collaboration with the CTEs in the state. So students who are in a CTE have opportunities to take specialized courses in a field that they would like to go into. That's been very exciting. And then finally, the VAST program, which has been out of our traditional our Randolph campus, which really allows students to get preparation in the STEM disciplines. And we've been excited about that. We also did receive a grant for a bridge program that Kara said, so that we can try to recruit those students into BTSU. So, yes. Oh, but
Okay, I'll ask. So fast forward, are these university students going back to the CTE or these?
these are CTE students who are taking college courses at their campus. And so typically what happens in that program is that the CTE has a specialty in something. So one of the things I was talking to the CTEs about was their ag programs and maybe a forestry program. So perhaps there's a forestry program at that CTE. What they will do is they will take the students who are interested in that. They will find a college level course that those students can take at the CTE. And then the students take that typically from one of the teachers that is in the school.
Yeah, I'm so confused. So the CTE, in my mind, CTE is still a high school.
It is, yes.
Right, so we're not talking about Johnson with
Right,
undergrad level CTE.
right. So no, this would be a student who's still in high school who has a special interest. But what happens is those courses are actually taking place on at the CTE. And they're usually typically taught by a high school teacher that's in the school. But they are our courses. And so what students will get is they will get a credit either from CCV or BTSU. There are other colleges that participate in this as well, but so the students can get college level credit for a program that they are interested in taking.
Thank you.
Well, I just have one thing to look at. My last slide is this lovely thing, which almost brought me to tears. So I love going to graduation every year. This was a woman who brought her child across the stage as she graduated. And, you know, this is just one example. I think this happened at every one of the graduations that we had where parents were bringing their children across the stage as they were graduating. It breaks me up every time. And I just think it's so important for us to understand just how transformative these programs are and these majors are for families and for folks. And so that parents can show their children, this is what I did. And so really that at the heart of everything that we do, really, we just have one simple goal. And as I said, we just want to make sure that we make it possible for all Vermonters to have opportunities for higher education of all ages and all backgrounds. And what we believe that will do is that it's going to lead these folks to more opportunities and so that they can really meet their purpose. Because, you know, when public colleges succeed, really Vermont learners are succeeding. And when Vermont learners are succeeding, really those communities that they're living in thrive. And this really is at the heart of the matter of why I do what I do, why I'm so excited to do what I do, and why I'm so excited to really work with all of you. So I want to thank you all for everything. And I'm happy to take even more questions if you have them. Okay.
So I appreciate the overview. It's always nice to see you and learn what's going on with the state college system. So in one of your slides, you showed it, you indicated a growth in education of 58%.
Program.
In a particular program, health sciences, 26% of mechanical engineering. But the attendance numbers are still relatively flat. So if those are going up, what programs are going down? Like what programs do you see receding that, you know, you're contemplating, well, do we shore it up or do we cut?
So every year we do a review of our programs with our faculty to see what are the programs that we might need to make adjustments to. And this is just normal in higher ed. It's really just quality improvement and you know, continuous quality improvement. Let me tell you about some of the examples of things that we have done where maybe the numbers are down, but rather than closing the program, we're looking at how can we redo the program. So one of the programs in this year's program array that we have noticed that the numbers are down is both in our auto mechanic program and our diesel mechanic programs, which are both on the Randolph campus. And if you looked at the straight numbers, you would say, you know what, these are programs that we have to close. Rather than doing that, I actually asked our workforce folks to look at this. The woman who is in that program for the workforce is most recently from Wisconsin. She said, I think there's something in Wisconsin that's similar to this. So what we have done is reached out to some of the CTEs. We've reached out to the Department of Labor. And what we think we can do is change the way that we are teaching those courses so that they are more accessible to folks. So once again, when I'm talking about online options, rather than having all the students have a requirement to maybe come to the Randolph campus, are there ways that we can look at putting some of these programs up online? And at the same time, perhaps you know of someone who has an auto or diesel shop that needs this. And so looking at making that into apprenticeship model. So that's one of the ways that we're really looking at this. So sometimes when we look at these program arrays and we say, wow, those numbers are low, what are ways that we can do things differently? There's always going to be some programs where we look at them and we say, the numbers just aren't there. A lot of times what we've done is potentially maybe diluted the pool a little bit too much. So, maybe in a major, there are a number of certificates or concentrations where the numbers aren't quite so good. The challenge with something like that when we have programs like that is that then you don't have so many students in some of the upper level courses. And so what we have looked at doing is taking those programs and those courses and saying, okay, rather than having 6 of these kinds of concentrations, let's lower the numbers and look at how we can combine things so that we have more students in the upper level courses. We work very closely with the faculty, and then sometimes just combining different programs. So we're trying to be creative in how we look at the program array so that we're still meeting the needs of Vermont, but doing it in a more economical way. So that's been some of the goals what we've done.
So great, thank you. I just want to make sure that as we're going back to the budget request,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I have it down.
Okay,
So 3% increase to base.
yes.
Number 2,
Was the micro-credential workforce for $1.5 million. And we can come back to you once we know what the governor's budget says for these. That's the program where I would look to be generalizing the kinds of micro-credentials, apprenticeships that we have around the state, just seeing how we can do that, ramping up some of the curriculum for all of that.
okay.
There is the global commitment for allied health. I think you have to add the 2 numbers together, but in total, we would be having an increase asked up to $4.2 million. I believe.
Global, explain the whole thing.
I'm gonna have Sharon just explain that.
So the Vermont State Colleges for many years has received some funds from essentially Medicaid dollars, global commitment that have supported our allied health programs that specifically for nursing, dental hygiene, respiratory therapy, et cetera. Those funds come to us as largely grant funds, so largely not as part of your general fund, and then a small portion as your general fund. And so what Chancellor Malka is recommending is an increase of a little more than $2.4 million that would increase that to support the allied health programs and the direct expenses that underwrite those allied health programs due to the large costs associated with running those and the large number of students that the Vermont State Colleges tries to make sure that we put out at an affordable rate.
And did you lose some federal funding, or is this just to add?
This is just to add, no, we've lost no funding. We just know that we're now, training more nurses, more respiratory therapists, and so it's an increase for that reason.
Thank you.
Can you, it would be helpful, I think, if you could put that in a letter to us,
Sure.
with enough, that kind of description
Yes.
for what it is, so that we
I think
can,
we have that, yeah.
to the extent we recommend or, to the appropriations, we can do it. We can actually know what we're talking, make sure we're
Yes.
clear about what we're talking about.
Yes, certainly.
Yes.
And then the last is the $1 million for the apartment complex, the development of the plans for an apartment complex media.
So that's the help with soft costs.
Yeah, yes,
Is this
that's some development costs.
new construction or renovation of current?
It'd be new construction. One of the things we looked at was the residence halls of the height of those don't really make sense, but rather than tearing those down, our thought is We can put one of these apartment buildings on a parking lot, so we're not worried about impervious coverage, actually make the impervious coverage better. And then having apartments in the reason for Johnson is we actually already have apartments up on Johnson and those are full. So we know that there is a demand for those, both from our students and potentially for the community. But at the same time, it does allow us to see if there is some kind of market also for those residence hall, the traditional residence halls right now. So that's what we're looking to do.
If I could, so we acknowledge that your enrollment is slightly up 4.1% growth, but you've got several campuses. One of our concerns has been, and has been for, this is now the 4th year, each individual campus enrollment numbers as a trend line would be very valuable to us, just to kind of sense, is everything okay, or is there a underwritten problem? That would be very helpful, but I think we've been asking for that.
I think we had to watch. I will get that for you again this year. One of the things just to note is that, as we're talking about the overall number being up, that does include these students who are coming to us from online. And so, the enrollment being up is an overall increase. I think on the slide that I had, we know that it was up at Williston and Linden this year. But the real enrollment, like what's bolstering that up is significant increases in online enrollment that we're even seeing right now. So some of the Freedom and Unity funds, as we're getting into January, classes start Tuesday, students are enrolling in these totally online programs. It's been really an amazing thing. And here again, we know that we've got to change the way that we are thinking about how we're meeting the needs of those students. There's just a lot of other operational pieces to this that we haven't traditionally done in traditional higher ed.
Good. That's like just one kind of a challenge, a little bit of a challenging question. There is a bill about educational freedom, which has already hit the street. I'd like you to react to the concept that this is state. This is all money coming from the state treasury. We're providing education for students, but we're not prioritizing what they apply their this money or their academic efforts towards. But we do know from an economic development sense what professions we need in Vermont that are on not being fulfilled. And I'm wondering what your perspective is on, if you're willing to, why we don't target or prioritize those scholarships towards jobs that we need.
I think that's a fair question. The reason for me is that we, one of the things we can certainly do is continue to develop our program array so that we are creating those programs that students need, that the economy really needs in Vermont. The challenge with only funding certain types of programs is that you are really tunneling folks in. And so one of the things that we really want to make sure we're doing is ensuring that everybody finds, what it is they're good at. And so what we have found is that when we have these kinds of programs where it's for just one type of thing, we're not really opening up that funnel. And so a lot of what Vermont needs is just more students coming in and looking at programs and looking at majors. And so we think that's something that's very important.
Do you think there's a difference between whether the student is paying for it themselves or whether the state is paying for it on their behalf, on whether they should be allowed to pursue whatever it is that they're interested in pursuing versus what the state needs?
I think that we want to leave it open. I think that we want to leave it open for more students to have opportunities to decide, what it is, which programs they think that are best suited for themselves, so that we're not narrowing our own. We're not upfront deciding it's only these programs and then not having students even come into a college setting. One of the parts of college really is one of the pieces of college is kind of discovering what you're good at, what you might want to do. And so when we start to say it's just these majors, we don't always see that that's what the outcome is. So yes, I think that we should have this as open as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think, by the way, what you're doing with trying to bring housing on your campuses with available spaces, are you doing that with intentionality? Are you to like sort of also not just have housing for the sake of housing, but integrate it into the community life? I'm sorry, the college life?
Yes, so this has all been, as a matter of fact, as we've started to talk about this, we
I
have,
assume the answer is yes.
yeah, we've had folks, interested in, using our facilities, using the gyms that are there. What about the cafeterias? And so, yes, that has been part of what we've done. As I said, this notion of workforce housing has been very interesting. It almost seems like at the heart of what it is we're trying to do.
Yes.
That being said, building it so that becomes state housing that people pay for, or is it gonna be a private entity coming in and building and maintaining and?
We are looking at all options, so certainly public-private partnerships are one option, looking at it. We still own the land at this point, so, we're trying to look at all options to see how we can do this, obviously. We royally don't have all the funds to.
So that $1 million is to do that study as well, which would be the best option for the state, because,
Yeah.
I'd have some concerns, if it was just states. Different areas, so.
Well, very good. Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
it was nice to see you.
Yes, it was good to see all of you.
So we'll look for that letter. We'll look for that letter to help us with our budget.
I will get
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Good. We are adjourned.
Have a good week.
We are